Have you guys ever wondered why you look the way you do? Our height, weight, skin color, nose shape, and many more characteristics that make up who you are depend on your DNA. Although it doesn't seem like it, each and every one of us are genetically 99.9% the same. And surprisingly, we are approximately 50% identical to a banana. Today, we have our gene team here to teach you guys about genetics and how it made you who you are. Hello, I'm C.
And I'm G.
And I'm A.
And I'm T. And together we are the 4 chemical bases, which you will learn about later on.
Let's go back to when your parents first met. They fell in love and made you. Ta-da! But how exactly does this work? When sperm and egg meet, fertilization occurs, and a zygote is created with 23 sets of chromosomes, which then divides and creates you. All the information we know today is thanks to one man and his pea plant, Gregor Mendel. To further understand the inheritance of genetic traits, Mendel established the idea of recessive and dominant traits. So if your mom has blue eyes, which are dominant, and your dad has green eyes, which are recessive, the child will most likely inherit blue eyes. Genetics control how we look, but do they also have some influence on how we act? It is understood that we inherit certain characteristics from our parents, but it is unknown whether personality traits can also be inherited. While some experts believe that inherited personality traits can occur, others believe that our personality is defined by our environment. However, studies have shown that up to 35% of some personality traits can be due to genetics instead of social influences.
Just to make sure you guys are paying attention, what percentage are you identical to a banana? 50%, that's right. Now, what exactly is DNA? DNA is short for deoxyribonucleic acid, located in the nucleus of our cells, and is made up of smaller molecules called nucleic acid. It carries genetic information that is used for creating organs in our body. Genetic information, which is inherited from our parents, reveals personality traits as well as physical characteristics within a person. The information is in the form of a code, which is made up of the 4 chemical bases: adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. These 4 letters pair up with each other, A being with T and C being with G, to form units called base pairs. Sugar and phosphate molecules attach to these base pairs, creating a nucleotide. Nucleotides are arranged in 2 long strands and together with base pairs form a spiral called a double helix, which makes up the structure of DNA. The order of these bases determines how to build and maintain organisms, similar to the way in which letters of the alphabet appear in a certain order to form words and sentences. A slight change in the sequence of DNA may result in a mutation or defect, which leads to different types of disease and/or cancer.
The Human Genome Project started in 1990 when the questions, what are we and what are we made of, came to be. The overall goal of the project was to determine the sequencing of chemical base pairs which make up human DNA, while identifying and mapping the total genes of the human genome from both a physical and functional standpoint. But what is the human genome? In fact, it remains to be the world's largest collaborative biological project. Scientifically, it is the mapping of the nucleotides contained in a human haploid reference genome, which has a number above 3 billion. Of course, the idea of this project arose from the thoughts of the benefits of it. The human genome will provide new avenues for advances in medicine and biotechnology.
With the discovery of the human genome, not only can we pinpoint what part of our genetic code expresses what, but we can take it one step further. Over the years, we have seen designer shoes, designer bags, and designer clothes being the new fad. Is the next trend designer babies? Designer babies are babies whose genetics have been modified or changed as an embryo. This allows doctors to actually locate and change the genetic code of the baby to have or not have certain traits. This lets people correct errors in the human genome. This can vary anywhere from changing the genetic sequence for eye color, height, or gender, all the way to changing the code to prevent a certain disorder. Although this is a big advance in science, it does bring up a lot of ethical debates. The big question is, should designer babies exist? Well, before coming to a conclusion, it is always important to weigh out both sides of the argument. Here we have the gene team, T and A arguing for designer babies, and G and C against designer babies.
We think that one of the more distinct reasons for designer babies is the fact that we can eliminate genetic disorders and errors in the human genome. There are over 3,500 different genetic diseases that have to do with defective genes. Although there are treatments for them, no true cure has been found. By fixing their genetic codes before the baby is even born, the baby is able to live a fulfilled life without any genetic complications.
Although this sounds all good scientifically and for health reasons, designer babies could have a detrimental effect on our society and changing world. People have the potential to take advantage of this and not just use it to fix disorders, but instead for personal desires like hair color or height. Firstly, creating designer babies would be very costly. This creates a prejudiced social rank between babies who are designer, which are people who can afford them, and babies who are not, because they can't afford it. This could result in designer babies with talents that they did not originally possess thrive in society, whereas non-designer babies will be at a clear disadvantage. In addition, on a business standpoint, medicinal companies and the health sectors would lose a lot of money since no one would need them to help illnesses. This would have a huge impact on our society.
Another reason for designer babies is that not only will this prevent genetic disorders in the altered babies, but as this progresses and more people do this, there will be a long-term effect as well. If a whole generation's genetics are altered to not have the genetic disorder, this means that even without altering the DNA, their babies will inherit genes that do not contain the genetic disorders either.
Also, it is not fair to the child that he or she is getting fixed and is being judged on their identity before they are even born. It is not right that the child has no say in his or her own alterations. The child was created in a certain way and people have the potential to change everything about them. This means the person is not the true self that was naturally created and is supposed to be in the world. One of the biggest and most important cons is the fact that individuality will cease to exist. If the world was creating the idea of a perfect baby, then the world would be full of one specific looking and able person. Although these people all have high potential and ability, they would all be programmed to do only one type of function. Although A&T made good arguments for designer babies, there were too many points made by C&G that were overpowered. This is why designer babies should not become a reality. Overall, governments should not focus on changing the structure of DNA to a point where the person they create is not themselves. The government should focus more on targeting genetic problems that alter health before and after birth, as opposed to changing genetic preferences. The person still looks like their original self, just without any health problems. Okay.
I'm ready and then I'm not. Okay, Claudia, go. Another reason.
It is not right that the child has no say in his or her. Sorry. I think it's recording. Should it say 3, 4, 5, 6?
Is there a red light that says record?
Yeah.
Is it blinking? Or is it counting?
Yeah.
Oh, then it must
Inches.
be recording.
Okay. Go different motions. Yeah. Okay, in circles. Oh, your fingers are. It's okay. Those are so boring.